Good evening. Welcome to my kitchen and welcome to me being cheap. Tonight we're going to talk about a cost-benefit analysis of canning dry beans. Okay, so first of all, a couple things you ought to know. It's not apples to apples or oranges to oranges. A can of beans, I happen to have garbanzo beans. This is actually 1 3/4 cups. If you can in the pint jars, it is 2 cups. So you're getting a 1/4 cup more canning in the jars. So let's talk a little bit about the prices. This week I went to my local Kroger affiliate and I found pinto beans, Great Northern beans, and as a test I canned up the black beans already. And what I have found out is that a pound of dry beans, once you soak them overnight, put them in the jars, can them, 1 pound of beans equals 3 jars or 6 cups of beans that are canned. 3 jars, 3 pint jars. Okay, so let's do some math. I have my whiteboard here. Okay, so the canned store-bought beans, that's 1 3/4 cup. The home canned pint jars is 2 cups. And again, 1 pound of dry beans equals 3 pint jars. Okay, so let's talk about the cost associated. We have the jars. I have my jars. I inherited jars. I picked up jars in yard sales. I've had people give me jars. I've had jars forever. So I don't consider that a cost. If you're looking into getting into canning, I would not run out and buy jars full price. Just ask around. People have them. They'll give them to you. Okay, so lids, I buy mine in bulk off of the internet. And so they run me about 5 cents a piece. Now, I have not shopped for lids recently at the big box store or the grocery stores. Last time I did for a dozen, it was over $1 or about 10 to 12 cents per lid, depending on where you bought them and what brand. But I buy mine in bulk, and so it's about half price for me. So the pinto beans worked out to be about 99 cents a pound. I actually bought a 4-pound bag. The black beans, it was cheaper to buy them in the 1-pound bag, of which I bought 2. They were $1.89 a pound. And the Great Northern beans, which are these white ones, are $1.14 a pound. So on a jar by jar basis, we know that 3 jars, you can get that from 1 pound. And actually, you know, I really looked around on the internet and I could not find that statistic. So I went ahead and actually canned up something so I would know. I'm not going to do any non-necessary canning right now because I really don't want to heat my house up. But I did this to find out how many you could get from 1 pound. Okay, so that works out to 33 cents a jar on the pinto beans, 63 cents on the black beans, and 38 cents on the Great Northern beans. I added my 5 cents or my nickel for the lid. That makes 38 cents, 68 cents, and 43 cents. Now there's also my time. However, when canning beans, there's really very limited prep work. It's not like you're having to peel and cut stuff up and blanch or anything like that. Literally all you do, it's as if you're going to cook a pot of beans. You rinse them, you put them in overnight to soak, you dump out that water, rinse them again, fill the jars, put the water in, put the lid on, put them in the canner. You had to use a pressure cooker. So you kind of have to be there to babysit the pressure cooker, but you don't have to stand over it the whole time. You can do other stuff. So time involved is limited, minimal, and I would say that I mean, you could do other things while you're doing it if you get efficient at this. However, I wanted to point out that pinto beans were 69 cents according to my price tracker at the discount store, so the off-brand, 69 cents. Black beans were on sale, also a sale brand or a discount brand, but they were also on sale for 69 cents this week. Black beans typically run more than that per jar. I'm not sure. It's at least $1 something a jar or a can the last time I bought them. And I forgot to look at the Great Northern beans. So, you know, I was really only saving a penny by canning up the black beans. but I could save quite a bit on canning the pinto beans, and I'm sure the Great Northern beans aren't that much. However, is it worth the time? I would say yes, because you can do other things while they're canning and it really doesn't take a lot of work. Is it worth the investment of jars? Again, I would not go out and buy new jars. If you had to buy new jars, it's going to cost a lot. I think the limiting factor might be the lids, depending on how cheap you can get the lids, because if you're having to pay 10 to 12 cents, if I paid 10 cents and canned these black beans, that would put it at 78 cents. It would have been cheaper for me to buy the store brand. Another thing to keep in mind is you're getting a 1/4 cup less. So one other thing I'd like to talk about is, why would you can your beans? We know that beans are healthy for us. It's a cheap source of protein, but you can't just eat them instantly. If they're dry like this, it takes a long time to cook them. And most people aren't thoughtful enough to prepare them, the night before and cook them. So you're tempted to run out and buy a can of beans, which if you can your own, you would have it ready to go. And I'd like to point out that I have a gas stove. The amount of time that my pressure was cooking or was running to can these beans was about the same amount of time that it would take me to cook a pot of beans. That being said, if I want to cook a pot of beans, say like if I have a ham bone that I want to throw in there, I'll just use the dry beans. I won't open up a bunch of canned beans. The reason why I do this is if I'm making chili, soups, stews, sometimes I put black beans in salads. So it's nice to have these on hand for those little things. Cooking a pot of beans, it's going to be easier just to do it in bulk. Well, I will let you make your decision on that. Oh, one other thing. I can just a small batch just to get my numbers, so I use my little Presto pot, which 4 of these jars fits in. That's not a very efficient way to do it. I have a large pressure cooker in which I can actually fill the bottom up, and then I can actually stack another layer on top. So I could probably do, I think it's about 18 jars that I can do at one time, so it would definitely make it more efficient to do those all at once. So keep these numbers in mind when deciding whether or not you want to can your own beans, or if you just want to buy them already canned off the shelf. Okay, thanks for watching.